Hmm. Just a second, folks. All right. Bishena. Welcome, everyone, to the Aramaic School of Light for every Wednesday night. And tonight, we're going to do something very unusual and different. I've done a little bit of this, but I'm going to do something as if you were sitting down with me and you're going to be like reading the actual Aramaic text, and I will be explaining it to you. So we're going to do the Caruzuto de Yohanan, which is the preaching of John. And I'm going to put that up. But before I do, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer in the ancient Aramaic tongue, Lishana Aramaya. Shall we pray? Aun which may yenit kadeshma tete malkuthach nechwe sibiana ke kanazmea apara howlan lach masunkana mana washwoklan how bain a kanadap hanan shwakin lahayawain la talanisiona ella pasan min bisha mithol de lachi malkutha haila tishpochta la alam almin. Amen. Okay, I'm going to share now the Gospel of John with you in the Aramaic text. So just hold on for a few seconds and let me put this up. And that it came doubled. This is just a minute. Let me check this out here.
Oh, it was fine, Ravi.
Okay, I'm going to do it right now. No, see, I'm getting a double thing. Is that what you're getting?
Yes.
See, I
The
have
one.
these.
Close that one. Just click on the X above it.
Where?
Right. Yeah, go to the corner up a little above.
The lower box?
No, the other way. At the
Up here.
top, yeah, top right. Top right. Keep going up.
Doesn't say anything here for me to.
Move
It
the
just says
mouse up.
share.
I'm seeing there is an X there. You're probably not seeing it because you're
No,
sharing.
there's no X here I can see.
Mm.
Let me.
Do you see the file menu?
You know what? Let me click out of this and try something else here for a minute. I'm going to do just this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens. Here we go. Just what I wanted.
Good.
All right. What this says up above here, this says que paleon alap or had. I can say either thing. I can say que paleon alap or que paleon had. The word had means one, or I can say alap, chapter one. And this is verse one. Now, if you're reading English, this is what I got to give you tonight. I'm going to actually take you into the language itself and then first give you the way we translate this in English. In English, and not from Aramaic, but in most Bibles, they all say the same thing. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was the Word. That's how they translate it. Most everyone does that. And we have a big problem because we're missing the full meaning the way it was translated. First of all, they begin it with in the beginning. And because they're copying Genesis, because in the Genesis in English, when we translate it, we always translated it in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And that's how it's written in the Hebrew. And it's the same word, whether it's Aramaic or Hebrew. It's just slight different pronunciation. I would say in the beginning in Aramaic is brashith, but in Hebrew it's breshith, breshith. Very short, breshith instead of brashith in Aramaic. And it doesn't mean a beginning. That's what I have to get at tonight. Okay, let's look at now how I'm going to tell you what it's saying in Aramaic and then in English. Here is the word brashith, brashith ithawa miltha. Now, all I'm saying is ethau. I don't pronounce this letter or this letter. It's silent. Ethawa. And this is silent here with this line passing over it. Ethawa miltha. Okay. So literally it says, everyone translates this in the beginning, but I don't use the word in here. This little letter Beth, this little B, that's what we call it, Beth. It's a B, and this is Reshith. This is what they use for in. It's just the letter Beth. Brashith. So we have the word Brashith, but I do not translate it in the beginning. I say at the beginning, and this is ethau, and this is the verb. This is a verb, is, and this is present tense, and this is past tense, and that's how they form the past tense. Ethawa. These two words here form the past tense, but literally, this word all by itself is, and this is was, is was, but put together, it is totally the past tense because it's saying something. And that's what I'm going to get at, which we miss when we translate it into English. Okay. And then here is the subject. Look at where the subject is. 1, 2, 3, 3 words in. Here's the subject. Miltha. 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 Tha. Miltha. This is the word right here. This is the subject. This is what all this is about as we go down each verse. This is the subject, and this is what we are missing in when we bring it into English. The minute I translate this word miltha as word or verb or sentence, or it has so many meanings in Aramaic. And here's the problem. This word in Aramaic, I'm going to have to give you a little grammar here. This word in Aramaic, miltha, is feminine. This is a feminine word, miltha. And it does mean word. It does mean verb. It does mean a sentence. It has, as I said, many, many meanings. It means a phrase, just a plain phrase, not even a full sentence, but a phrase. And here's the problem. This is a feminine word. But this verb, ithawa, is in the masculine form. You cannot use a masculine verb to describe a feminine word. Interesting. Here's the problem. This should be ite. Ite is feminine and not itau. Ite is the feminine. And that's what it should be, but instead it's ithau. And why? Because it's saying this word here is not translatable. It is ineffable. This word is ineffable. And you know what I mean by ineffable? It means it is so profound, there is no human word for this word. because even in Aramaic, though and when you bring this into Greek, they take this word miltha and make it logos, Logos, logos. And logos means word, means a telling, a, a talking. And and here's the problem. This word, as I told you in Aramaic, this is why Aramaic is so important. It cannot be described by a masculine verbal system. It has to be described by feminine. So by the very fact of the writer putting this in the masculine form means it's something more than the word. It's something more than the verb. It's something more that is describable. This goes back to Genesis because in Hebrew, in Genesis, when it opens up and it says Breshith bara Elohim. Breshith bara Elohim. 3 words. I can also translate that in Genesis too, is at the very beginning, God created. Now, bara is the word to create, but it's only used when God creates, that word bara, because only God has this miltha. So it has to do with something that is beyond the human grasp. It is beyond this creative, and I'm going to use the word force or energy. This creative force or energy is indescribable, but it is what brought everything into the world. And this is what John is telling us. In Genesis, it doesn't do that. It just simply says, Breshith bara Elohim, which is God. Elohim is God, and bara is the past tense created. But our English word create there is only used of God. In English, we can use it. We say, I create, you create, they created this book, they created this car, they did that. But it's not that word bara in Hebrew has the same meaning as this milta. What John is telling us here is that there was something that is indescribable, an energy, a power, that is beyond human comprehension or can be described. That's what it's saying. It cannot be described. It is too profound, ineffable. And this is what this word meant. So what I would do, how would I create, or that is, how would I translate this miltha? Well, first of all, I would not translate it. I would keep it as miltha. And I would put it in the way we would say it in English, not in Aramaic or in Hebrew. Because this is what it's all about. No matter what we read going on down, we got to keep this in mind, miltha. And miltha is this indescribable energy and power and force that is, we have no human words for it or descriptions for it. That's why we leave it miltha. So I would translate the first phrase of this, because there are 3 phrases in this first verse of John, the first chapter, and I would translate it. The miltha was always in existence, period. The miltha was always in existence, or if you want to keep this, was always always in existence at the very beginning. That is what it's telling us. Miltha was at the very beginning of anything that we know, was at the very beginning. It was always there. It was never created. It is the creative force. It is the creative. And what I mean by force, I mean the energy, the power was always there, but an indescribable power, an indescribable. So it's more than word. It's more because the root of this word, as I said, in just regular common Aramaic, is mille. That's words. How do I say words in Aramaic? I say mille. It's plural. When I want to say one word, I say miltha. But this is more than a miltha, a word. It's more than a word. It's more than a verb. It has the sense of manifestation. It has the sense of, as I said, it means a phrase. It means a sentence. It has, oh my gosh. But as far as we're concerned, what is John saying to us here? What John is telling us, remember, this isn't Jesus speaking. This is John telling us about Jesus and what he has. The miltha. And it is masculine. You have to make it masculine. This is what took it out of. Well, if I translate it as word, if I translated it as verb, I'm taking it out of the Aramaic setting because it is masculine. But the word itself, miltha, means a word, a verb, and it's feminine. But John is using it in a special way, as I have already described to you, that powerful energy that is indescribable. So, this miltha, the miltha, was always at the very beginning, or was always in existence. That's another way to translate it. The miltha was always in existence. And that, well, how would I pronounce all this? Brashithi thawa miltha. That's what I said. Who? Who? And that. Now, this expression here can mean he, him, or that. And he, the milta, or that. I like that better because it's expressing it better. It's hard because you see, there's no neuter in Aramaic or even in Hebrew. There's nothing that is neuter. It's either masculine or feminine. The verbs are masculine or feminine, the nouns are masculine or feminine, and the adjectives are masculine or feminine. And even this here it's masculine, and that's why I translated it. And that, the very fact I use that is putting emphasis on what's coming up. Oh, look, it's the same as this here. Miltha, miltha. Miltha. And that miltha, but because of using that, it makes this word very strong in Aramaic. And that very miltha, here's the verb again, ethawa, past tense, was always. Now we have another strange thing. This is the word luath. Luath. In other words, an Lwath. Luath. This word luath means with. With. But it's stronger than with. There's two words for with in Aramaic because they have different meanings. If I say um in Aramaic means with. If I say with me, If I say John is with Mary, I would say Yohanan am Mariam. But look at what this word is, Lawath. So they do have a word for with, but they didn't use it here. They used this one, Lawath. Why? Because it's going to give us a different meaning than just with. What it's telling us is, and that very Miltha was before the presence of God. In other words, was with the presence, was with, to be in the presence of. This Lawath, if I use it means we are together with, like John and Mary are together. I would use but if I would use Lawath, I can't use it there because it's strong. It's more than together. It is, this Lawath means to be before the presence. So this word with means inseparable from this presence. And whose presence? Allah. So here we have it. The Miltha was always before the presence of God or in the presence of God. And this is this word Lawat. And we just say with God. We made it simple in English, with God, because it does mean with, but in a special way, in a very special way, and not just with somebody. This means constantly, always there. That's why it's Ithawa, was always, never separated. This power, this miltha, this energy was always with Allah. And the word Allah means, and it comes from this verb here. This without the wa, without ethau, if I just say eth, this just three letters here, aleph, yod, and tau, which is eth. Forget the sound above it. Just eth is the verb itself. That is the root of the verb. This is the root right here. So Allah, when I refer to Allah, I say ethia. I had to borrow this verb, which comes from to be. Plain eth means to be. And Allah, how do we explain Allah in Aramaic? Ethia, I have to use this verb. Ethia, self-existing. Self-existing. And I say Rabba, because I'm putting an adjective with it. Ethia Rabba is what God is. Ethia Rabba, the great self-existent, the universal self-existent. So, Ithawa Luwath Allah, this Milta was inseparable from the self-existent. That's Allah. Now we go on. This is going to climax it. This is the first phrase, Brashiti Thawa Miltha. This is the second phrase, Hu Miltha Ithawa, Ithawa Lawath Allah, Lawath Allah, which is the second phrase. He's building. He's you see, if you would just, I'm trying to get you the excitement into how cleverly this first verse is written. It gets you excited. It says, Miltha was always at the very beginning. Okay. I can even say from the very beginning. Also, and now I'm going to tell you more. And that very Miltha was never separated from the self-existent one. And this is the word, the little wa, this little W sound here, wa, I'm going to say walaha, because I'm going to make this a W sound. It means and God, or the self-existent, here we go again, Ithawa, was always, that's what is this going to say here? First, he shows it as separate. There was this milta, this energy, this indescribable power, but I like energy better. This indescribable energy was at the very beginning, and it's inseparable from God. Now I'm going to blow the whole thing with this next phrase. And God, Ithawa, was that Miltha. It's more than can't be separated. God and Miltha are one and the same. Ah, you'll never look at John 1:1 the same as you have in the past. The Word was at the beginning, and the Word was with God, and God was that Word. Now you get the full impact of it. Miltha and God cannot be separated. And that's why it says, and God, in the final phrase, and God was that very, I have to put in very there because this word he, and he was him, the Miltha. God himself, I can say, and God himself was the Miltha. Isn't that interesting? And God, but this is, and he, the was he, the Miltha. That's literally the way it is in Aramaic, but it means, and God itself was the very Miltha. Oh, in other words, God's energy cannot be separated from God, just like your energy can't be separated from you. And when you have no energy, you're down. But you and your energy are one and the same. So it is with God, this particular creative force. It's a creative force, and it's in everything. God shared his creative force. If you really understand the book, first chapter of Genesis, which, by the way, in Aramaic, it's not, and in Hebrew, it's not called Genesis. It's called, the book is called In the Beginning, or At the Very Beginning. That's the name of the book in Hebrew. And in Aramaic, it's Britha, the creation. That's what it is in Aramaic. But in here, that's because Greek influenced and changed everything. We use a Greek word. Genesis is from a Greek word. And we don't use the Semitic word. Even in Hebrew, we say Genesis, and it should be Breshith at the very beginning, or at the beginning. And I don't like the way they translate it now, too. They say when God began to create. No, 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 no. Okay. So I like it this way. And here's what he's going to tell us. You've got to keep in mind that every time it says he in the next verses that are coming up, you've got to keep in mind that it's because it's describing the milta. Everything's milta, and that's why it's masculine, because it's describing something more than just the word or the verb. Okay, that's why I do not translate it. I just keep it milta. And God was that very milta. You can't escape it. Next sentence. Hannah. Ithawa. Oh, there it is again, the verb. Ithawa. This was everything I just said above is what the writer's saying. Everything I just said above, I'm going to repeat it here. This Miltha, this Hannah is masculine describing Miltha. Even though it's not in here, it's understood. It's I don't have to repeat the noun because when I use this is the word this, Hanna, and it's in the masculine form, I know it's talking about the milta here, the milta here. It's in all three phrases. Milta, milta, milta. This milta, it's implied because of using Hanna. This milta was at the very beginning in the presence of God. Remember Lawath? Remember I did Lawath here? And here it is again. This is what I mean. When you're reading it in the original, you get a deeper sense of meaning. When we read it in English, it doesn't hit us because we're not reading it in the ancient form. And that's what I wanted to do tonight. That like I did with John 3:16, by keeping it in the ancient form, and like I can explain to you because of being familiar with the words and how it's done, you get the deeper sense and the feeling in it. There's so much feeling in these reading of the words. When we're reading in English, it doesn't grab you like it does in the ancient language, and especially Semitic languages. Hebrew, Aramaic, and of course, the most colorful and most enlarged, beautiful language is Arabic because it's based on the ancient Aramaic and it flourished and becomes the most flowery of all Semitic languages. So, more so than, even though this is ancient, but it's more so in Arabic. If they do the correct, closest meaning to the Aramaic here. And this is why I don't like Greek for the New Testament. This is the New Testament in Aramaic. The New Testament keeps, when it's in Aramaic, it keeps the flow from Hebrew because Hebrew is a sister language, a twin sister language of Aramaic. The roots of Hebrew are Aramaic, and it has the pronunciation, some of the pronunciation is borrowed from the Canaanite language or way of speaking. Like when we say, I greet you in Aramaic, I say shlama or shlam. I can say that too. Shlam lach, hello, or shlam lech. That's if you're a female, hello. Or I can just say shalom, shlam, or shlam. But in Hebrew, notice they say shalom, shalom with the O rather than an A. But it's the same letters, sheen, lamed, meme, same identical letters. And when we say peace or hello, that's what we use in Aramaic. But why does Hebrew change it to an O? Because of the Canaanite influence. The Canaanite influence, and some of the A's, they like to make it an O. And in Western Aramaic, they make all the A's O. All the alepphs become O because of the Canaanite influence. And so that's why they say shalom. But if I'm going to spell it in Aramaic, I have to use sheen, lamed, meme. That's it, period. SHLM. That's it. That's Semitic languages for you. So now let's go on to this next verse is quite interesting. And by the way, these letters here, this means one, this means two, this means three. Aleph, Beth, Gamal. I can say it in the Aramaic, which is had, and train, and talafa. And that's one, two, three. Okay, now the next sentence. Kol, 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 idewa. Here is that word we talked about in John 3:16 and 17. Bidewa. Kol bidewa. Now, this miltha, and he's using this as a metaphor. Literally, it says all or everything was, this is the verb here, was by his hand. This is how this Beth here means by. This is his, this here is his hand, by his hand. It's one word, be, be they. Be they is one word here. Be they, and this is the word, the verb wa. Be they wa, was. In other words, everything was by his hand. Everything was done by the miltha's hand. And this is an idiomatic expression of speech. And he's going to make it, if you don't understand what he's saying here, he's going to use this next phrase in verse 3 to show you. What biladao, apla had what middim dao. What did I just say? And without the milta, this is the word meaning without him, meaning without the milta. Okay, without the milta, not even one, not, this is not even, this word apla. Apla means not even one, and the word thing is over here. Not one thing existing that's now existing or was existing, this is how he puts it. He puts it in the past tense here. Was existing that came to be. And without, in other words, everything that we see, everything comes from the miltha. That's why it's bidewa, was by his hand, meaning the miltha's hand, and it's masculine. That's why we say his, by his hand. People think it's referring to Jesus here, but it's not. It's referring to the miltha, the power that is God, the energy that it's the creative force. Going back on the Hebrew, the bara. In Aramaic, it just uses the word bra. Bra is past tense, created. In Hebrew, they say bara. Same word, just they add something more in Hebrew. Okay, a sound. So what do we have here? Everything we see came by the miltha. Now, John is preparing us for something very strong. So this is why he is saying all this. Okay. So everything that is existing now came to be because of the milta. Now, verse 4. And I hope you have some questions because we got a lot to talk about here. Okay. Be, haye, haye. This, you can't see it, but there's two dots up here, just like we did on wa here. There's the two dots. Be the be haye wa. In him, that is in the miltha, was life. Oh, so now we're getting an insight on what some of the components of miltha. Okay, this is what he's doing now. First, he tells you it's too profound to try to explain, but I can give you some sidelines. I can give you some different look at it. Okay, so this is what John's doing in this introduction. So he says, in the milta, in him, literally in him, and this is was wa. This is wa again. Haye, haye, like Haim in Hebrew. Haim, haye. We say haye for life. In the milta was life. In him, in it. See, in English, I would say it, but there is no it in Aramaic. So I have to say in him, but meaning the miltha, which is masculine. That's why it keeps the masculine form going here. But I would in English say, in it was life, in this miltha. And haye itehon. See, notice it's changed here. The verb was itehon because it's plural. Life is plural. And my students who have been studying, and we just did this last week, the two square dots here means this word is plural. Two square dots above here makes this word plural. Haye, because life is plural, and that's why it's hon. Itehon, and it's feminine because the word life is feminine. Itehon. Remember, I told you this should be, if this was the word, this needs to be ite. And so that's why it changes the meaning of miltha. Okay, it means more than just the word. So this is itehon. Life is plural. That's why it's hon here. Itehon nuhra. Okay, and life is now life. What is life? Life is nuhra. That's the name of my foundation, Noohra Foundation. Nuhra means light, enlightenment. So life has light in it, enlightenment in it. And this is the light of, this is the word of, Daunenasha. I'm reading it to you. It's as if you're reading it in Aramaic. Daunenasha. Okay, so the and is and life is the light of humanity. Who? What? Yes, literally, it says of the sons of men, or the son. Yeah, sons of men, because it's plural. There's the two square dots, meaning plural. So it's really humanity. I would translate it humanity. So in this miltha was life. And now there's something more to tell you about the life. And the life was, or is, and the life is the light of, was the life, and the life was the light of humanity. In other words, we all have light in us. Humanity has light in it. All and this life is the very light of humanity. It was. This is the past tense. This is past tense here. Itehon. It's past tense. So was the light of humanity. In other words, the milta, every human being has the milta within them. Interesting. And I love this verse. This is my favorite verse right here. The beginning here, and it reaches the apex in here. And in this milta was life, and the life was the light of humanity. It's there. And that, here it is again. Who, and that light. Listen to, and that light, this enlightenment, becheshocha, this word, cheshocha, becheshocha, is darkness. And the light in darkness, or throughout the darkness, manhar, is shining. This is shining. This miltha, which is life, which is light, And it is in the darkness, in the ignorance, in what people don't understand. This light is shining. This is what manhar is in Aramaic, manhar. And that very light is shining in humanity. And the darkness with a shocha cannot overtake it, cannot conquer it, cannot distinguish it. That is, put it out. It cannot put it out. It'll always be in humanity, always rising in humanity, always coming forth, even though darkness tries to conquer it. This is the first 5 verses of John. How powerful are these verses? And reading it now in the actual Aramaic text, the language of Jesus, Lishana Aramaya, you get the full impact of it. And this is what I wanted to bring to you tonight, was the impact of this. And I want to go through the whole chapter with you in it. We've only gone through 5 verses because it's going to change right here. Because it's going to drop the spiritual talk he's giving to bring the introduction of the gospel. This is really an introduction. It's called chapter 1, but it really is an introduction because it's taking all the ideas that are in the gospel and bringing it in this tremendous introduction. So he says here, he's going to switch now to John the Baptist. And it says, Wa Barnasha, War Barnasha. There was a man. Barnasha means a human being, a man. I can translate it either way. And there was a man. This is Wa Barnasha. Barnasha means literally son of man, which means human being. There was a human being, a human, that was sent to Shaddar, that was sent min Allah, from God. There was a man or a human that was sent from God. Shmei, Shmei, his name, Yohanan, Yohanan, John. His name was John. And I'm going to stop right there. And we'll start with 6. And we'll continue with this the next time I am speaking. All right? Let me take out the... Here we go. And let me go into the questions. Well, first, let me see what the chat is. There is now part of my all-time favorite collection. I have a statement about the light-darkness concept, and the light is always shining. My statement, just because you are a lighted room with eyes closed doesn't mean it's dark there. Thank you, Robbie. Awesome. Thank you. All right, let me get to the questions here. Q&A. So glad I was able to use last week's link as I did not get a message for tonight and thought, well, it must be called off, and it wasn't, so I made it. I'm glad you made it too. Okay. Thank you for sharing the Aramaic translation. Yeah, well, that is the actual Aramaic text. That is the text itself. And all I did was just translate it for you and read it for you in Aramaic so you could hear the sounds and what it's saying. It's a Sanskrit from ancient Indus term Ekam Sat, one consciousness. Right. I shared this with a friend today, but included another term, Matthew 6:10, in earth as it is in heaven. Right. This is a continuity of spiritual understanding between these terms and meanings on a fundamental level. Yes. Yes. And this is it's because there you have the teachings of Jesus. Now, John is going to take us into the soul of Jesus. We're getting into the metaphysical. And notice those first 5 verses are entirely metaphysical. And of the use of the term miltha, it's beyond description. We just have to say the word. As I said, it's an ineffable word, the way John is using it all the way through. And it's going to climax, and that's what we're going to get. We're getting close to the climax. Verse 18 is the finish and the climax of these tremendous verses. I trust you can feel what I was getting at tonight. All right. Thank you for this special Aramaic translation today. Would you be so kind to share any insight you may have for the relationship between these words? Orcha, Urcha, way of living, Nuhra, light, Torah. The word Torah is Hebrew, and Orha is Aramaic, and Nuhra is Aramaic. Orha means the way, the path, something you can walk upon. This is the word that we often would use for religion. But you see, today religion is not more based on a path. It's based on a doctrine, a dogma, a certain set way. And unless you believe this way, and that's that, and that's what and we translate that as way, but it's really a path, something you can walk upon, and which is the ancient form of the word for religion, because it's not religion. It is a path we walk upon. That's why we walk with God. We have a relationship with God. And that's the whole thing. The whole thing is for our relationship with God. That's the meaning of it here. Okay. And the word nuhra. Nuhra is light, meaning enlightenment, understanding. This is what the word for nuhra means. And here John's telling us that light is also life. It brings you an energy, an understanding, an insight, which brings clarity, and it brings a sense of energy, power. But I don't like the word power, because when people think of power, they think of muscle and all that kind of stuff. But here, it's that flowing sense of being. You're no longer in the dark. So, and darkness cannot, ignorance cannot. When the light shines, ignorance cannot destroy it, cannot put it out, cannot distinguish it, put it out. Not so it doesn't just cannot destroy the light whatsoever. Okay, and that's how strong the nuhra is, because the nuhra is the path, and it is the light, which is life, which is part of the miltha. It's an expression of the miltha. That's what John is getting at in this. It's the expression of the miltha. Let me see. Is there another question here? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for so much. My few words in speaking in tongues were Aramaic, as I know from your studies. It was so amazing. God said he was with me. Of course. Good. Yes. Regarding Urha, Nucha, and Torah, Ora, light, yeah, I understand God as joy, Ananda, bliss. Yeah, well, Jesus uses that term, bliss, in the Beatitudes when he says, Tu ekonen miskeni bruch. We translated blessed are, and it's not the word blessed there. I'm sorry, it's not the word blessed, but everyone uses it, and that's why Dr. Lambs is stuck with it, because everyone uses it. But it's the word tuwa. tuwa word nanda. Okay, so and God is complete joy, and but they do have the word for joy in Aramaic. Hadutha is the word for joy. So, and we say Allah ithau hadutha. God is. I mean, ithe hadutha because it's feminine. Ithe hadutha. God is joy. Okay, but in the Beatitudes, it is tuwehon from tuwa, which means bliss, total bliss. Okay. I think there's another question come in regarding Torah. Torah means teaching. We use the word law for Torah, but it's really Torah, as we say it in Hebrew, because accent falls on the last syllable, Torah. But in English, we say Torah. And so do the Jewish people use the word Torah. But it's really meaning teaching. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's more than just law, it's teaching, it's instruction. So, and it comes from using the word or, which is light. It brings the light. Okay, I've told you this so that you may enjoy maybe regarding the Torah or John 15:11. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Yes. Beautiful. Oh, some more. Only God can create. Was we as humanity can only procreate. Create only from because God gives us the creative power to procreate. Create only from what has already been created. It's right. If this is true, then you can share more on the power of creation. Yes, you can. Absolutely. The root of orator being joy. I see. But usually the word or is light in Hebrew, Aramaic, and I think it's the same in Arabic. Okay. The root. I'm talking about the root. Okay. I think that's it. Well, we had a good night this evening, and I will continue it when I'm on my next time to come on. I will continue going on down the verses in Aramaic. It's like you're reading the New Testament now in Jesus language. I'm just pronouncing it for you and reading it to you and also translating it for you. Okay. Love you, everyone, and thank you. We appreciate your continued contribution to keep us going. Wait a minute, I see something here. Oh, I appreciate your teachings. They always deepen my appreciation and comprehension of our Father. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Love you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the week. I know God is always blessing you.